Welcome back everyone to Steve's Place Down Under. It's still December here. It's hot today, just after Christmas, 2 days after Boxing Day. For those of you who haven't seen this before, there's an episode of us picking it up where it sat for 40 odd years. There's an episode of me getting it going. There's an episode on tyres, putting new tyres on it, and then this episode we'll be doing some engine work. So we want to drive it, so we're going to be doing some engine work, some transmission work, some cooling system leaks. We're going to have to pull the radiator out, fix a few little hoses that are split over sitting that long. Might do the valves while the cover's still off, and we're going to need a fuel tank for it. The fuel tank's rusted out, and what I've put there, whether it's a drum or something I've got lying around here, I don't know. I've got a couple of things laying here, but they're all a bit big to put where I want to do it, so we'll have a bit of a walk around. Haven't seen those other episodes, go back and it'll make this one make even more sense. So tyres are on it now. She's all sitting on all fours. And you can see the tyres that come off it, they were shot. They've been flat for 40 years. You see the holes in those ones. Now I've got to try and get rid of those somehow, but anyway. So we're going to pull the radiator out. It's got a leak in the radiator itself. We may be able to just plug with something, or I haven't got any heat here like flame or anything. I'll buy a map gas thing when I'm in town, but she's leaking there somewhere. I'd say where that steel frame goes onto that tank. But anyway, I probably have something else to adapt to it here. A couple of hoses leaking around that water pump, which we'll fix. We might run the feeler gauges across them valves while the cover's off. Got a leak on that number 4, which she's not firing on all 4 correctly. She's sort of cavitating the fuel coming out of there, like it's a bit bubbly. So we'll just see what's going on there. So it does run on all 4. Hasn't got a oil filter in it yet. I've ordered that. Hasn't got an air cleaner. I've got a couple of plastic Donaldson ones here that we may be able to put on it, but I'm happy to run it without it, just to see if it all works. Transmission I had draining overnight. A couple of litres of water in that, no oil at all. So I don't know if over them years, and the gear stick was in it but loose. So over all them years, whether it's overflowed and run out one of these, it's got like a transmission brake there. It could have run out the seal of that, or I don't know, but she's obviously overflowed all the oil out of it over those 40 years. What else to drive it? The steering wheel, she just winds up and down. You can see that gap opening up there between the column and the wheel. I'll have to find out what's going on there. I think this stub axle here maybe tight, but like the kingpin, so we might have to grease that and try and get that moving. But in this hydraulic tank, I'm sure leaks. It's holding enough now to recirculate that oil, but I'm sure it leaks. So they're just some of the things I want to do to it to get it moving. So what we'll do first, we'll probably take that radiator out. So I've got to duck into town, just see if I can see anything there that they may sell in there to get me out of trouble, and I'll get that while I'm there so we can put it back on. And I've run it with coolant, but it does, just with water, but it does leak out. So it holds it for 10 minutes or something, which isn't near long enough. And the fuel tank, as you can see, it's completely gone. So whether I've got a fuel tank off an old D series Ford, but I think it's deeper than that. So whether I put a drum somewhere behind the seat and run some hoses to it, or anyway, there'll be a way. There'll be a way. Some of these plastic drums have actually got a thread in the bottom of them, which I may be able to adapt a hose to. We're going to need 2 for return, of course, but anyway, those are some of the things we're going to do. May have to cut these, we'll try our luck stainless galvanised one sort of moves, but I think it's wishful thinking to get that one to go. You can see that little hose there is perished, which is easy enough, and the bottom radiator hose itself going onto the inlet of the water pump there, so they'll have to be done, and then I might just plug this up and put a bit in her and see where she's coming from. I would say there where the steel's rusted on that copper tank. May not leak, it might have just been the hose. was leaking in this area here, but again, it could have been a hose running across that track, or it's actually holding water. And it had no pressure either at the time. I'm happy to put that back in and just check them hoses out. Okay, hopefully you can see in there. It's hard to, in these tight places, to get the camera as well as work on it. I'm going to replace that now. Again, those are all steel clamps by the look of it, so not sure if they'll undo or not. You start cutting them, you start cutting into the pipe itself and all that. We don't want that. Probably should have ordered a thermostat for her too, but not to worry. Get a bit of heat around her, she might work. I could go and get a ratchet and extension. By the time I do that, I'll have it off. Just got to try and come off straight over those long studs, and it's going to make it hard. That hose is sliding off it at the same time. That's been on there a long time. Twist her out of there. Okay. Now we'll get that shit off here. I'll go and try and find something. I've done a bit of cleaning up off camera. So I've got a bit of rubber grease. One to help it go on, two to help it seal a little bit. I am going to use that old clamp again because I couldn't find one the same size. I've got a little cheap kit off eBay there, but I'm sort of going to trust this old one more than that. Of course, it's not the easiest thing to get back off once the radiator's in there. I spent a bit of time freeing these up, spraying them and cleaning them, and they seem to work okay. So I've got some Permatex on the gasket. It didn't tear, it's still up there. I didn't notice the water pump leaking, but if it is, I'll make sure the tractor itself works first, and then before I decide whether it's worth getting one or resealing this one, or all the transmission and everything may be locked up. I don't think so, but it could be. Might not even be worth doing any of this, but made for good content so far. Made for the old girl to get going again after all that time. Pretty decent old motor still. So fairly confident with that. because you wouldn't get that much weight on a modern day hose clamp. They'd just strip out. Just looking at a screwdriver, they fall to bits, some of them. We'll just move around the other side of the fan. We'll do that other bottom hose. She's rusted fairly well, that one, which is fine. I just have to get a little tool in there and cut it and find one. It's going to be a tad bodgy here. My little cut-off saw hasn't got a wheel in it, so I just sort of just erode it away with this bloody die bit. Big burn bit here. Take the bottom hose off and pull the bottom out, or lift that generator up. Nothing looks easy either way. Well, she undone. Not so bad. Something that needed doing anyway. Still not sure she's going to let us play. I might have to take the belt off and lift that generator out of the way. Very hard to get in all these places here. It's not at all bad, but I'd like to clean it. And some radiator hose. I keep a lot of, if I ever change one or it's, you know, in reasonable condition, I keep it for all this stuff that we use around the paddock, because it's, as long as you're not going on the road, you can keep an eye on most of this stuff. This is an old Motorcraft one, which would be forward, but it's not crispy, but it's got clamp marks already on it, like it has been used. It's still okay. Well, she certainly tightened up. That can come back out a little bit. Not rubbing on the timing cover there. Just found a hose clamp for one of those V8s I've got in that old line up of the old girls there. 272Y block. Had one on her. Again, excuse my hands, it's pretty tight. Trying to film it as well as work on it, it's a bit of an art, but what is it doing? It feels like it's coming off. Geez, I've got to do a lot of stuff twice. I think that's good. It's hard to see in there, but it's definitely on it. I tighten up all the main bolts, I'm going to put some water in her in case there's any other leaks. It's not as much to get off then. It's all going to go down in the engine. Well, something that sat around for 50 years, apart from that little bit I just spilt. I'm fairly happy with that. And we'll start her up, run her up, not yet, but when we do the rest of the work, and I'm more than happy with that. I mean, some of the stuff we use from day to day leaks more than that. I think the next thing will be we'll block that injector pump off there, fix that leak on that, run the feeler gauges over and put the lid on, and that's the engine pretty much done, apart from when I get the filters. And then we'll concentrate on a fuel supply. We're going to set them at 18th hour. Certainly won't have to be spot on with this old girl, but soon. Okay, we'll clean her up with that cover on it. I think this calls for a nice lovely cold bottle of beer actually. Let's get some wind on that, puff all that bloody old stuff off there and just put some grease on it. I haven't got a gasket. Here's what it is, she leaks, I'll get one off eBay. Sorry, forgot to press record. I reckon if you're out in the middle of the ocean, you'd still hear a Harley Davidson. Ah, absolutely everywhere. Right, that will leak, I can nearly guarantee it, but it's going to do till we keep the weather out, and two, so we can use it. So the next thing is you have to look in through these bars here, the cylinder and that frame. But I'll take this injector line back off and just fix that leak on that delivery valve there. I hope that's why she's losing injection pressure through that particular one. No other reason it should be aerating the diesel like it is, only on this cylinder. I think I took this cover off when I had the lift pump off, which exposed that screw. Anyway, that'll do. She's certainly getting there. I'm just going to have to work on a fuel supply now, then we can run her for a while and get the temperature up and put some transmission oil in her and see what she'll do. Okay, I've done a search of the place. That D series Ford tank I've got is just a bit deeper. It's got to fit in there, so whether I make something or just keep an eye out for something, even a late model Isuzu one or something would fit. I just don't want to go modifying the frame itself, so until then I've come up with this. Now these plastic drums here have got a BSP 3/4 plug in them. You take that out, you've still got to drill it out, so I actually cut it out so there wasn't any shavings or drillings. So BSP down to that 3/8 hose barb there, which is the suction, so that should be all fine. And then the return, I cut a thread into the plastic. Again, I didn't drill it, I just sort of opened it up with a knife and then wound that fitting in, so it's got pipe thread sealant on it, as well as I just sealed the outside just in case any rainwater does get in there. Now that's just going to wedge down into between that bit of angle there and in the seat and the guard. As I said, that's going to do until we get something to fit under that seat, because I'd like to do it all, not restore it, but have it, don't have anything bodgy like that on it, because I mean that's temporary. That drum's not going to last too long out in the rain and the sun. So I bought a couple of meters of, or 4 meters of rubber hose there this morning, $10 a metre or something, so it's not too bad. And I'll leave that boat primer bulb in line, so that until I get a lift pump kit, that boat, I mean they're very good, they'll provide a lot of pressure. That'll pump through and blow the valve off and pump back through the return into the tank, so that's more than enough. So I'll leave that in line. I'll do that now. I'll run those lines, and we'll put some diesel in that and bleed it up, and then I think the next thing is see if we can fill that transmission. Now I've had it raining, as I said. I think I'll put, it should be 80, 90 or 85, 140 probably in it, but I've got some S30 here. I'll put that in it, a lot thinner it is. I'll put that in it, and just it can be flush with that. It can flick up around the gears and clean any stuff off, and then we can drop it and get some 89 input in it. It'll quieten it down a lot too. I'd imagine it's going to be noisy having water in it, if it moves at all. I haven't checked the back end, but I don't see any way it's got in. I've checked the final drives. I've had those plugs out of those, but the back end, unless there's a breather that it's getting through, which looks like that little button there may be a breather. You see the last Chamberlain I did, you can see her over there, the yellow cab over there with that silver light on it. It actually went under the water in the flood, so this one's only just been sitting in the rain and the weather. So I think if she all moves, and then I'll concentrate on greasing all the unis and checking the rest of it out. So the next thing is hook that fuel tank up and bleed it, and might even start her and run it on that, and so I know it's going. Then we'll concentrate on that transmission. You hear any roaring in the background? The kids are all in the pool over there. They got their cousins over, so I haven't got a chook house or anything. That's just the kids you can hear. It's basically just going to wedge there. That's as simple as that. It is bodgy, but if it's a way of saving the old girl from scrap and getting some fuel to it, well, I'm all about it. So what we'll do now is we'll run some lines to that. You can see it there. When I bought this, I thought I'll have the tank under the seat, but not thinking 4 metres may not even be enough. I've probably got some other stock anyway, but it's plenty. I mean, it's, you know, that's as neat as you can make bodgy, I suppose. That'll be return in the top. Always return it away from the pickup, preferably above the fuel too, so it doesn't got the weight of the fuel it has to push into, plus it's not cavitating it or stirring it up in any way. This is our return. The wheel, and it is. Might have fallen my shorts here, they keep getting stuck on my knee. So they're not going in the wash tonight. I suppose it is the in thing, having cut off shorts like that. Okay, so this one here basically just needs to go into that there. We'll cut that, and then it's going to give us the rest of that length to use. Put the primer bulb up near the engine. Okay, now this one, I'm just going to cut this pipe a bit closer up near the engine itself, just to basically get this primer bulb so we're not reaching under that step. That's the only reason. I was actually hoping there'd be more than that in there to make a bigger mess. I asked a bloke for 3 metres of hose this morning. He said, well, there's 4 left on the roll, you want it? I said, well, righto. Yeah, another $10 doesn't matter. So I'm glad I did. A bit smaller than this bulb, but sort of got to make all sizes fit here. Actually, that broke last time we used it. Okay, fairly happy with that. Very happy with that, actually. Okay, another job done. Might put a bit in that and just pump it through. I won't film that. Okay, so I've got her all hooked up. I just put a breather in that cap. I forgot to do that before we sat her in, but done that off camera. I could eliminate this bulb and get a proper lift pump kit for it, but again, this will probably deteriorate in the weather, this bulb, but it's going to get it going. It's going to make it work and see where we're at with it. Okay, I can hear that returning to the tank. That's it. You've all noticed it's got an exhaust pipe like that, and glad it did, because it's saved it being pointed down like that. No water could get in, but it is a potential fire hazard, plus it's going to blow fumes around where we're sitting. And these old engines blow a lot of carbon out. If you run them in the night, there's just consistent sparks of bits of carbon and that coming out of the manifold and the rest of the system and the head. But and you can't put a muffler in that short of a distance, so I don't know whether to put a horizontal stack on it, or I have got a few mufflers in all that pipe work over there, or even run one more of a spark arrestor and just a resonator. Sort of run one down and out a bit further, but I'd more like I don't know, something we can clamp onto here and straight up to get rid of the fumes plus the spark. So anyway, that's further down the track. That's not going to stop us now. It's obviously how they were using it before, like that. I think the next thing is we'll go and get some S30. I've got it down the back. I won't film that. I'll go and fill a drum up, and I'll come back, tip her in, and see if the clutch works, I suppose. So when I went into town before, I got some battery cramps. Now I think they're absolute rubbish. I really do, but I think $14 for 2 of them. The next step up's $20 something for 1, which are a lot better quality. But again, when you plan on bringing all these tractors through here, and you just want to do things not on the cheap, but just spend too much on this. It may not even work, all this stuff. So I'm just gonna. I don't like them because that's paper thin. That top strap, so you're only really getting half your. Anyway, that they will work, but. And then they had some lovely leads hanging on the shelf in there, but it's a place called Super Cheap, so you can. They've got Super Cheap Auto here in Australia, so they got rubbish like this, which is their home brand, or you can spend some decent money and get, but they will get you out of trouble. I don't know that I'd put it on a car that I plan on driving across Australia, but this old girl going down the back, it may work. I've never had a lot of success. Even these, I don't know, these threads here, they strip just by holding by your hand with an open end spanner. But anyway, I have got other leads in there with the crimp. I've got the crimping tool and some terminals, but they don't fit those leads. Plus, I didn't have any terminals with just a single bolt, so these will do for now. I'll have to get on eBay. That's where I get a lot of this stuff to stock the drawers up. It's a lot better than going into that shop. And if you don't go to that shop, the rest are too dear. So it's a great shop for Chinese stuff that, you know, gets you out of trouble. Some good cheap tools in there, which I like cheap tools. I don't use them at work every day of the week, but here I love. So we'll put these on, then we'll tip the transmission oil in it. And one other thing I had to do was, if you see me wearing ear muffs, because I've got music on in them, and again I can't play music through the radio because I get penalised. So see, I don't even know that they come as a negative and positive. You just close one up a bit further. One other thing I had to do was check that steering box. So I'm not sure what that's going to be. I have come across that before in that Oliver 80 down there, but it's got like 2 cups and cones in it like a normal wheel bearing. One of those was collapsed. I bodged it up many years ago just so we could steer it with just a washer. So it's still hard to steer, but I mean, if I was to do it again, I would just go and get some bearings. You know, they're just like wheel bearings, as I said. So, but you know, I'm certainly not knocking that shop when I say it's rubbish, because I bought it and I love cheap Chinese stuff. It lets a bloke like me that's just on wages have a bit of a go and get some new gear, and good way of getting this old gear going. When it comes to the Kenworth and the white and all that stuff we drive on the road, I'll go to a truck centre, or you know, it's a bit more quality stuff. I'll always use Nava or Bendix or all those good brands on that old gear. But this thing here, this is going to be more than enough. That's good. That's just going to, over time, that's going to corrode. That's going to. You can get that battery spray, but I reckon you're better off spraying it up under your armpits. We're going to be erecting the shed down there over all those tractors soon. A mate of mine, Tom's, going to be coming down to help us from Silverado. He doesn't know about it yet, so if you're watching this, Tom, expect a phone call, mate. But I have run it by him before, and he's waiting to be let know. So I just don't like them all sitting out there. The clutches stick, the starters root out. They just, come this far in life, they deserve to be looked after. I've got a bit of a mix. I don't know what sort of music you blokes are into now. I like stuff from right through the late 50s to 90s, some 2000 stuff. Not a lot of late model stuff, but my favourite is late 60s, early 70s rock and roll. But I've got a bit of a mix going on in my ears here, but that was just Ray Brown and the Whispers on then with 20 Miles. And it's the Lemon Pipers on now with the sound of it with green tambourine. So I'm not sure what music you're into, you can call me mad, but that's what's going on. Just nip them up a little bit. I'm gonna get on eBay tonight. I like Saturday nights on, I know it's not Saturday, but when you're on holidays, every day's Saturday, so I like Saturday nights on the lounge after fiddling with this old girl, or this old gear, and buying a few bits and pieces of more Chinese rubbish to put on and point. So I might even get a key barrel or a press button there. I have got one in the drawer, but that's just for me starters. You saw me in the startup video doing that. That's where I got the filter kit from. They're good Wix filters. Wix are okay. Sure works, and I'll put a Donaldson air cleaner on her, and I'm not going to get the charging system working, that generator. It's anything I've got here, the generator's just for tightening the belt only. Alternators, generators. Unless it's something we use every day. I don't know. You swap that many batteries around here, you just... Generator's just there to keep the fan spinning, really keep the belt tight. I'll leave one loose, I always leave one a little bit loose in case you pop it off in case there's a starter sticks in or something. Okay, now the transmission. I'm gonna overfill that so it flushes it all. So I've gone from the Lemon Pipers to Silverchair, so you can see sort of the range of music I've got going around this equipment. This is just S30, as I said, it should be an 80/90 or 85/140 gear oil. But this is going to get up around the bearings a lot easier, it's going to flush it a bit better. And it's not new, this is, I get the service boys at work to drop S30 and hydraulic oil. We get about 2,000 hours on them in late model machines, and there's nothing wrong with it, so I bring it home and put it in this stuff. So those boys in there, if I want a drum, I'll just get them to fill a 200 up, 205 up, and or a 44, what you Americans call them, 55s, and I'll use it here in this old gear. So it was still good to run in that gear. We've only cleaned it to change it because it's due for a service. So this has probably been in a D9 or a 740 or some piece of cat equipment. It'll be cat, Komatsus don't use it. Our Komatsus use a 10 weight mono grade in the transmissions. And the Hitachi's and Volvos use their own oil. Well, a different grade of oil anyway. They've got Allison and Volvo use their own. So. It's full. When I said I was going to overfill it, I didn't mean right to the bloody gear knob. Anyway. She's having a bit of a leak here, must be. She's leaking out of the PDO shaft. Done the seal, so these are things we're going to have to do once we find out if it's all going to work. Okay, so my wife just came over. She said, "Steve, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, there's half a carton of cold beer left. I've got Manfred Man on in my earphones, and there's a shed full of equipment like this. What do you think I'm doing?" So I had a fiddle with the steering off camera just to try and shorten the video, so I found a ball joint online that I've ordered, so I split this one here, so that was sheared off, and it had fencing wire holding it on, so that's another thing I had to fix before we used it. So that's not fixing the steering box, there's still a lot of playing that, but that was another thing. It's still going to let us steer it. So what I did, I split it with one of those thin cutting wheels on a 5-inch grinder. I got rid of the steering knuckle out of it, which is still here on the seat. I just kept it for the radius in case we're going to make something up that's not available. But so I got that. I got a 5/8 UNF bolt. Just took all the edges off on the belt sander, and so I put the bearing either side of it and just welded the cap back over that. Now, bear in mind this isn't going on the road, so 5/8 UNF nut either side of it, and then the head of the bolt is up in between the two bearing cones in cups in that joint. So I've just split that and put it back on. Now I've put some swallow shit on either side of it, penetrated well. I did V it out, so this is just to see if it's all going to work. So bear in mind we're not following the circus around like she used to. We're not going around Australia. I'd be happy if it gets to that ute, to be honest. So what we're going to do now, we're going to kick her up. I have filled the transmission up, but the PTO has got a live drive out of that transmission. One's for the diff, and one's for the PTO. So the PTO on a tractor runs right through the transmission off the engine and drives your spline out the back here. So some tractors will have a hollow through shaft in the transmission, it'll go right through. Some will just run off off your main shaft. So I don't think these have got a 2-stage clutch. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they do. So it's driven off the engine. So what I'm saying is now that yoke that's dripping into that drum there is on the bottom of the transmission. So if I drain it out so that stops, it's going to have no oil in it. So we're just going to have to make a mess with that. If it all works, I'll get some seals for it. I think it's the same transmission as I did in that C670 for this same company I got this off. So, and that one I've got down there. So I'll get onto a mob in Queensland, Bundy Bear's Tractor Shed. He's got a YouTube channel if you watch him. Hi mate, if you're watching. He generally, Queensland Tractor Spares. A lot of stuff for these. Good Australian company sells for these old girls. So I'm going to start it up now. That's probably going to throw a bit of that out, but this hasn't gone for probably 2 weeks, and we'll see what she does. I just cross that starter over. I haven't got a key yet, but all I want to do is see if it starts and then see if the clutch will let me put her in gear. So I'll just cross her. I've freed I've put the gear stick back in off camera. I've freed the throttle up off camera. Just bits and pieces that probably are very uninteresting, but I've bled it. You saw that before, so I'll just cross the starter. She's working off the hand throttle in the foot throttle now, so full of water, still full of water. It took, I don't know, 500 mil or something before, so just through those few drips and what's bleeding out of the block. So we'll give her a go. I'll go and get something across her. Okay. Check the oil again. I think it's between full and add, so that range is fine. That filter needs replacing. That one doesn't exist, so it's definitely got pressure. But I'd rather it catch the stuff out of the sump, but again, we have cleaned the sump, so it's only what we've cleaned out of that top cover. So she's on idle, it's out of gear, we'll give her a go. what, the compression's got to be good. She's a direct injection, no glow plugs. The diesel won't go without compression. Back a bit earlier there too, we cracked that injector, so that would have let air into it plus all this. All I did is pump it. I didn't let the air out, so. So she's got a gut full of air hooking these new bloody tanks and everything up. Crack the squirters again, just give her all that air out of her. Number 2 that's firing. Working. There's no fuel on number 1. Definitely got a gutful of air somewhere. Just leave the top of the pump there and under her own steam. I've been happy when I got married. I've been happy when my 3 kids were born, but right here, this is good. Different sort of comparing effort. That was going in the scrap bin. Alrighty, so it's the next day. Off camera yesterday, I took it for a drive after, well, when you see me just drive it off screen, then I kept going right down the back. After that, got down to where the trucks are down about 600 metres down the back there, I suppose, and she did get a bit hot. It started boiling, but I don't know that if it's the radiator or the valve thermostat. You can't really expect it to work after 40 odd years or something sitting there, so I've ordered one of them for $30, and just a basic key switch I ordered. So I think I've got a plastic air cleaner for it. I was going to drive it again to show you how far I did go with it, but I don't think it's necessary. As you can see, it's turned around, so I think next episode, when we try and get the hydraulics and stuff working on it, we'll go for another drive. And it was only in low range, so it ran for quite a long time before it did get hot too. So it's not far down there, but it was going slow, so it probably a 10-minute drive, to be honest, and plus what it was running in the shed here. So it did go for quite a while before it got hot. And then I brought it back in high range in first gear, and it come up them hills. It was producing power. It had black smoke coming out of it, so she started to clear her throat when I come back up a few of those hills there. So brakes work. It's hard to steer. It's got a lot of play. I had that plug out of there, and I could see the actual worm gear in there moving up and down like one of the bearings has collapsed. So that's the play in the steering. I showed you that yesterday. So that's all movement before the steering actually does anything. So she's a bit of a handful, but I mean, the job it is to fix that. It's still usable. It definitely still steers. I turned it around down there fine. I'm fairly happy with it. For a $3 roll of red tape that I wrapped around it to stop it getting taken to scrap, it's a lot of history's been saved. I don't know about that thing on the back. I'll try and get it working, but that's not priority as long as the tractor's going. Next thing is to pull that tank off and weld. I'm sure it's got a hole in it. Where the grass has been sitting and all the dirt's been sitting there, I'm sure it's got a hole, so I'll take that off and fix that, and then I'll get some hoses made. So I don't think I've got any laying around here that'd fit. I'd like to give it a go, but I don't think I've got any, so that'll be the next thing, apart from the thermostat and the other stuff I've ordered. So thanks everyone for watching. Remember, merchandise, well, as I said, there's not a lot left, but there still is some. Thanks to those Patreon members again. Want to send me an email? The email's in the channel description. A lot of people do that, and a lot of people, I've got a Facebook account too, Steve's Place Down, under the same name, but I don't really go on there a lot, but some of you do Facebook me there too, and I will get back to you when I remember to look at it. So a few of you do that on a regular basis. I'll probably check that once a week or something. I don't put anything up on there. It's just another way to chat to people. So actually I said I wouldn't get a muffler to fit there, but I looked in the pipe section over there and I just shortened it up here. It's another thing I've done off camera, just shortened that so it slid in and it's inside the tyre, rather than go to the trouble and put a vertical stack or anything on it. I think that's fine. Makes it sound a bit better and just resonates it a little bit, and probably stops the spark. It's only a hot dog or a glass pack, some of you just call them, but you can see straight through it, but certainly change the note of it. So thanks again everyone for your support, and thanks for watching, and there will be more on this as we work on it. Thank you all.